Hello, folks, and welcome in. Today we are going to be doing a live Underdog Schnauzer draft, best ball. Let's go ahead and get started here real quick. Before we get started, I'm going to just share this link out on X so we can get some folks in here. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Teach you a little bit about best ball today. And bear with me here for just 1 second. We'll get it going. Alrighty. All right, so we're going to do a 20-second clock. This is the Schnauzer. You get a max of 20 entries. 100,000 goes to first. It's very similar to Best Ball Mania 6 in terms of its structure, but a lot less entries to max. And yeah, 100,000 to first, 50,000 to second, 35,000 to third, 25,000 to fourth, and 20,000 to five, rounding out your top five. So let's go ahead and jump into it. We're going to do a 20-second timer, and we've got 16 entries remaining. I've got 4 entries in, and we've got 16 remaining. So we're going live right now. This filled immediately. 54 seconds till this draft starts. And we are going to be drafting out of the 5 hole. So out of the 5, it looks like we're going to have some options with wide receiver. We're looking at Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, and I guess Puka if you want to go there. And then Barkley, Robinson, Gibbs on the running back side. I typically start wide receiver, but I'm not afraid to go with the running backs. Testing. Alrighty. Chase and Barkley go first, followed by Jefferson and Lamb. So in this case, I'm going to go, I'm going to mix it up here and go neighbors. Haven't done a neighbors build. Reaching a little bit for uniqueness in terms of structural uniqueness. And following neighbors went Robinson, Gibbs, Puka, and after Puka we had St. Brown. Followed by Genty at 10, McCaffrey at 11, Henry at 12, Collins at the 2-1. And what do we've got here? Achan at the 2-2. 5 away. Definitely would like to snag one of these top 2 wide receivers here in Brown or McConkey if I can get it. If not, Trey McBride at the 2-8 is always seems like good value. But we'll see. AJ goes. So now we're down to London, Ladd, McBride. Conkey goes. And McBride is there, so is Taylor. I think with this particular build, I want to take a stab on McBride. Get that in. Let's see. Now we're looking at Malik Neighbors. Should get a ton of target volume. And Trey McBride. Now I'm not sure we're going to have access to Harrison. So our correlation will probably be a little bit more obscure. But that should lend itself to some uniquer builds. And after McBride, we had Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Breece Hall, and Tyreek Hill. So if we look at the board, I know you guys love the board. Who doesn't love the board? All right, so team structure here. You've got 3 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a wide receiver. On the clock, let's get back to it. I did get access to Harrison, so I'm going to take that. So now I've got my first piece of correlation. And again, we don't have schedules yet. So without schedules, we can't really do game stacks. But what we can do is create correlation through team stacks. In this particular case, I've already started a team stack with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison. That means I will likely want to target Kyler in the later rounds. So let's get out ahead on that so we see him in our queue. But that would create the correlation that we're looking for week 17. We're betting now on the Arizona Cardinals having a blow-up week 17. We don't know the run back, so hopefully we get lucky with a running back, which would be, or another wide receiver that could be facing the Arizona Cardinals week 17. But that's the tight correlation that we're looking for. We also have neighbors, so we'd be looking, to potentially stack him with like a Tyrone Tracy, a Scatabo, something potentially along those lines, even another wide receiver down the road. That being said, I want to look for other options here now. Again, in best ball, we're looking for variance, high variance players with large ceilings. guys that can, you know, really just have big spike weeks. One away. Now I'm going to get Devonta Smith because I trust his situation a little bit more than I do Tet, and I've seen the spike weeks with Devonta, so I'm going to get those. And now I'm also going to look for that may take somebody off of a Hurt stack that they were maybe targeting. The AJ Brown owner is over here. So there's a slight chance that Hurts makes it back. If he does, then we bought ourselves a little mini stack right there. And if he doesn't, then I still have Kyler as an out later on. That being said, we'd be looking at, and that would be a very late share, by the way, of Hurts if he does come back. I'm not expecting it. That being said, there he goes. Now that person has no correlation, so he's going to go naked Hurts, which is fine, but I don't know. Not sure I would do that. Nobody's really building correlation up to this point, which is a bit surprising. I guess we're only 5 in, so we'll see. Okay, now I have a chance at Waddle. I think he's got both contingent upside, spike week upside. There's a lot to like there with Waddle. And then Chuba, Travion, Harvey. I'm going to go Waddle here. I like what we've got cooking here. We've knocked out our wide receiver, our tight end. And then we've got 4 wide receivers in Waddle, Smith, Harrison, and Neighbors. We know all 4 of these guys offer major spike week upside. Now we're going to look to bring in Kyler in the next few rounds. And we have an option now to potentially get like a Jonnu Smith, Tua later, get a little skinny stack going with Waddle. Now, also probably look to attack running back here as early as this round. There's a few guys, Hubbard, who we can project probably some pretty consistent volume, assuming health. Henderson, he's definitely got some spike week upside. Still kind of waiting to see where his ADP settles in at. You know what you're getting with Kamara, and this is a tournament, 1 year, 1 season. We don't have to worry about his longevity like we would in Dynasty, so I think there's something to be said about Kamara here. Hubbard, I like that pick, and he goes. I like Walker. He's just never been able to stay healthy. A lot of good running back. I could go James Conner, but you're really at that point, you're going, that's very heavy correlation, which is fine, but he probably negatively correlates with Kyler because they're both rushing. They both like to rush. All right, here we go. So Kamara goes, which leaves Harvey. We're in the back 6 here, so I'm going to take Harvey. I know that might be a little rich, but he offers that spike week upside. We're going to take Harvey, and talking about Sean Payton offense here. Now, this is an area where I would look at. I like Pat Bryant too, late in these drafts. So to get Pat Bryant in like the 17th or 18th to pair with a Harvey, it also opens up a Bo Nix if you get sniped on Kyler. And depending on if either Travion or Montgomery make it back, even if they don't, man, Sam Laporta this late, my gosh. Is that worth it? Or do I go San Francisco here? I think I'm going to give myself an option with Laporta later. I just like that value. He's already, in my opinion, underpriced. And then you give me 10 more spots of ADP. I'm going to take that. And then I'll look for options. That gives me a Jared Goff out too if I get sniped on some of the other guys. So really like that with the fact that Kyler might not be there. If he's not, then you get Bo. If Bo gets taken, you get Goff. So you give yourself some nice outs there in terms of stacking. We need a quarterback and a running back, I think, in these next 2 rounds. I'd be willing to wait on the running back one more round, but I think there's some value here. And as we spoke to before, we get Tyrone Tracy coming up in this range, 5 picks away. We'll see if he makes it. That would be, I think, a nice option here. We have Tracy and Kyler. And we'll just have to see what happens. All right. Let's get back to the board. Hawkinson. Well, we have our option of Tracy or Kyler. I think we're going to go. Ooh, yeah, we'll go Kyler. Get that stack. And then there's always a chance Tracy falls back to us. If he doesn't, then we have Scatabo. So we can go, unless both these guys go in the next 2 picks, we can create that correlation with neighbors. Tracy's gone. Warren's gone. Harris. Don't do it, man. You didn't do it. We won. Cam Scatabo. There we go. 3 picks past ADP. We've got our neighbors and Scatabo. We've got our Harvey, and we'll get a guy later. We were able to pair Kyler up with Marv and McBride. And we left open the possibility to get Jared Goff as well. And some of those ancillary pieces of the Detroit offense. Also was able to get our second running back in there, our first quarterback. We're 4 wide receivers in. through 9 rounds. So about 50% of our investment has been made in wide receiver, which feels on schedule. We have Tua later, so we don't have to necessarily go Goff, although Goff has some spike in him. Man's got some spike. What can I say? Four picks away. Goff is in the mix. Mims would be in the mix because of a mini Denver stack that I'm kind of building here. So that gives me two kind of spiky players. And if we wait, where do we get Tua? Oh, Tua's way down there. Tua's great value. Tremendous value. I think we'll probably go Mims here if he's there. Yeah, I think I want to take Mims here. A lot of spike week upside. And now we've got that Denver, New York, Arizona. We've got some game stacks, folks. Standalone Philly, standalone Miami for now, but we don't know that. We don't know that for sure. 7 picks away. If Goff's there, we might take him. If not, I don't mind a naked Sam Laporta. I think he'll offer plenty of value there, and I'm pretty much done at tight end here. I mean, maybe we sprinkle something on super late, but I don't know if that's even going to be necessary with this combination. The strength there sort of warrants a 2 tight end build. Yes, there's always the risk of injury, but I think in this case, from a quantity standpoint, I think 2 makes sense because of the relative strength of these players. Wide receiver, we're 5 in. So I think from this point forward, we're running back, wide receiver, and another quarterback where it makes sense. Let's see. A late Jackson Dart share would make sense here. Okay, so I think in this particular case, I like Tootin. I think the value there makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we'll go Tootin. Now we get, he's more of a secondary, tertiary piece, but if he gets going, he's going to get going. 4.3 speed. This is the kind of explosiveness that I'm looking for, really across all my formats, but especially in best ball. An injury or a trade to Travis Etienne. He's in the last year of his deal. Maybe they want to try to get some value. If Tootin's the real deal in training camp, then maybe you see an Etienne trade. And this guy's second half, wheels up. Wheels up, folks. Okay, we're 8 picks away. I think we're on track. I think I want to start picking some of my ancillary pieces back here that I know I'm going to shoot for. Pat Bryant. I'm going to get him to stick with that Denver piece. Let's see here. It's moving up quick, so I want to just kind of ready myself. Ooh, Trey Benson. That makes a lot of sense. quarterback. Could do CJ Stroud, but there's that 2 apiece. And we're going to have to risk it for the biscuit. Let's check the board and see where Tyreek Hill is. He's over there, and we're heading that way. So, oof. I'm not sure if I want to risk that. I feel like it's already good value, and I like these running backs. So we're going to go Tua here. I want that stack, that skinny stack with Waddle. So we get that. It's a little ahead of ADP. I get that, but I think between these running backs here, if we go that route, and if not, we have Noel. I think he could have some spike week in him. Tillman certainly feels like he could have some spike week in him. Benson feels like he could have some spike week in him. Rashad White, definitely, and he could be a little bit of a stabilizer to this backfield. Benson would also be a stabilizer, I think, to this backfield. Well, I'm not expecting him to be there. I think we go running back here. That makes a lot of sense. Ray Davis. He had a few spike weeks last week, so we've seen it with him, and he's on a good offense. I think I kind of like it having that range. In terms of ADP, it goes like this. No. Oh, okay. Yeah. Two away. 2 picks remaining in the 13th round. And Benson's there, and we're going to go tight correlation on Arizona here. Now, there is actually a negative correlation there. I'm going to switch it up. I'm going to go White. And the reason I went White is since he's a rushing quarterback and he's an average, potentially average running back, I think White offers a little bit safer floor there with that pass catching ability. And he's a little bit more seasoned than these other guys. Just thought that made sense for the room. Now a Noel and a Tillman, just naked, spiky, spike week upside. Let's see. Yeah, I feel good about running back. Gonna get one more in there. And my target for that, don't tell anybody. No, nobody wants to hear this. My boy Estimate's gonna have a hell of a year. Believe it when I say it. Believe it. And that's gonna get me my Broncos. And I'm all in on the Broncos on this build. Week 17. Watch out, folks. Joshua Palmer, too. He offers some spike. Oh, they did just bring in another guy. Wendell. With this build, makes a lot of sense. Don't have a lot of Wendell shares, but we can change that. We can freaking change that. We're 5 picks away, and we are 14 rounds in total. Palmer goes, Noel goes, and Josh Palmer goes. Matthew Stafford at the 14-4. Let's get back to the board. All right, just to recap. In the 14th round of the Schnauzer NFL draft, the 14.14 is McMillan, Noel, Palmer, Stafford, Eckler, Tillman. That was my target. He went right before. And then Zach Ertz. So how are we sitting here? I think Wendell really makes sense with this build. We're going to bring him in. He's earned a spot on the roster. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's our 6th wide receiver. A 7th would be nice. I like Ailman. DeAndre Hopkins. That just feels like value. I don't know. Am I crazy? Tell me in the comments. And for all those that aren't here that'll watch this later, appreciate you coming by. Stop by live next time. So 2 more wide receivers. Hopkins, Pat Bryant are going to be my targets. If we can pull that puppy off, that'll be sick. And we can, and we will. Not waiting for ADP on this. At this point, ADP is just a bunch of garbage when you're down here. I'll say it like it is. We're going to get Pat. He's been climbing like a mother trucker. Was getting that dude in the 18th round a while back. Now you got to reach. He's just going up ADP. But I like it. And that will get us 8 wide receivers. All right, let's take a look. Let's look at the board. We currently have a Giants build, team build going, an Arizona build going, and a Denver build going in terms of team correlation, and a skinny stack with Miami. So we've got Tua. We're pairing him up with Jalen Waddle. We've got Harvey paired up with spiky Marvin Mims, and hopefully Pat Bryant here in a second. And then for the Giant or the Arizona piece of this, we have Kyler stacked up with Marv, stacked up with McBride. So 3 pieces there. And then we've got a naked Hopkins. Hopefully he has some spike weeks left this year with the Ravens. And then a standalone piece of Sam Laporta because we got him 10 picks past ADP. And at that point, I was like, get 2 tight ends, super high quality. And yeah, then you don't have to, worry about it so much anymore for the rest of the way. So now we've got Pat. Again, I'm reaching, but at this point on the board, when you're talking about 150 to 200 to 210, I mean, ADP really, it's a super dynamic thing. We really got to look more at team build here more than anything. And then I like the idea of moving into Audric Estime here, getting that piece. Again, we are going to be pretty heavy on some of these game stacks, but there's some variability here with Harvey and what his role is going to be and estimating what his role is going to be. I think they both could have a pretty large roles in this offense, and they could work in tandem. And one guy's going to have a spike week one week, and one guy's going to have a spike week the next, and we're going to get all those points. So let's take a look at the team now. We've got Kyler and Tua both in stacks. We've got Harvey, definitely has some spike week upside. Scatabo with his mean rushing style. Tootin with his 4.3 speed. And White, pass catching upside. And then Estime, everybody thinks he's dead, but I think he's got a role. On the wide receiver side, we've got target hog, volume snob, Malik Neighbors, Harrison, who's going to take a big leap in his second year, the always reliable Devonta Smith with spike week upside, same with Waddle, and he's got the contingent value if something happens or they trade away Tyreek. You got Spike Weeks in Mims. Wendell's, he's just a floor play. Hopkins and Pat Bryant. And then McBride and Laporta. So we've got one more pick to go. I'm thinking Jackson Dart, if he's still on the board. That would be our target. If he's not, then we will go a different route. But Jackson Dart, he's probably going to get picked here. Nope, guy went Rodgers. Let's look at that board. I've got Neighbors and Wendell. So, I don't know. Doesn't really make sense for him to go Dart, but he might. If he does, we'll pick a Slayton, or could go Russ. Ooh, and we get it. Dart. Perfect. What a Schnauzer. What a Schnauzer build, folks. We could be looking at the Schnauzer winning draft right here. I know nobody wants to hear it, but it's true. It's completely possible. I mean, like Davis Maddox says all the time, we're all going to zero. Just depends on what journey you're taking to get there. But in this case, we might not be going to zero. Because this is a pretty badass build, I'm not going to lie. Let's take a look at it, and we'll wrap up this live stream. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate the interaction. Always fun. So we have Kyler stacked with Marv, stacked with McBride. That's beautiful. It's pretty common, so it's not the unique part of the build, but it's a nice part nonetheless. We have Tua. We paired him up with Waddle on the skinny stack. Then we got Dart. He rushes a little bit, but it's not his main tool, so I'm not too worried about the negative correlation there. Scatterboo is a pass-catching running back. He will be getting volume in this offense, and we pair him up with Malik Neighbors and Wendell Robinson. And then we go standalone on Belshel Tutin for his upside, standalone on Rashad White for his pass-catching upside. And we don't necessarily want to correlate running backs here unless we're talking about not having the quarterback and the quarterback not being a heavy running quarterback. But there we have Audric Estime, and I like this pairing. I know some people look at that as a handcuff. I don't, especially in Sean Payne's offense where he rotates backs. These guys are both destined to have spike weeks. And then he gets paired with Marvin Mims and Pat Bryant. And then you have your standalone Hopkins shares and your standalone Laporta shares. So tell me what you guys think in the comments. A 3-5-8-2 build for the winning roster of the 2026 Schnauzer. I'm going to have 15 more of these. I don't know if they'll all be on stream, but you get 20 entries into the Schnauzer. I'm going to try to live stream as many of these as I can. And again, thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. And we will catch you next time.